Best Media Podcast Network.
¿Cómo están?
Well, mi gente, ¿cómo estamos? Welcome to an edition of Must Love Wrestling. And guys, I am here on a special Sunday night episode. Without me speaking to you, I really felt that we need to talk about some things here because honestly, I feel like professional wrestling has become one of these interesting things where everyone wants to argue about everything. And I thought, you know what? Why don't we start with the most hot button topic in all of professional wrestling today? And that is The Undertaker and Batista. Guys, let's be serious here. Is this really a discussion for wrestling fans? Now, I understand you have your allegiances and you're going to vote for who you want to vote for, and that's absolutely fine. That's acceptable to everybody. But guys, it's not our job to like and dislike people based on who they're going to vote for. I am friends with people that are Democrats and I'm friends with people that are Republicans, and I very, very much let everyone do their own thing. Do I have personal views on both? Absolutely. But do I think that the wrestling world is a spot or a space for us to have this conversation? No, I do not think so. Not even in the slightest. Now, what I will say is that I've always been a bigger Batista fan than The Undertaker. I've just never really rocked with Taker. If you've been following my content on TikTok or Twitter, you kind of know that. I've always said Sting over Undertaker, and I really didn't ever think that Undertaker had a really great match until he walked into a ring with Bret the Hitman Hart. Now, I was always told that I was crazy for saying that, but let's be honest, let's be clear here. The Undertaker said as much himself. He said he learned how to properly work a match when he worked with Bret. Bret taught him how to work a proper match. But obviously, a guy sitting on his couch, talking to his phone, telling you this information, I might have been giving you the right message, but I'm the wrong messenger to give it to. You know, one of the things that I find super interesting is how we are able to just allow wrestling companies to decide whether or not their independent contractors have to follow rules for them. Now, let's be clear here. AEW and NJPW do this great show called Forbidden Door. And every year, it's a good show. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of AEW, but I appreciate Forbidden Door. I think Forbidden Door is one of those cool shows where we get to see people from all different companies come in and they get to work. But it is being reported after what Stephanie Vacour did last year that the companies that represent Forbidden Door decided that they will make people sign a contract that states that you will not go to the WWE after you work Forbidden Door. Essentially stating that they believe Stephanie Vacour used Forbidden Door last year as a gateway to get to WWE. I don't know if that's true. I know that she had her match with Mercedes, and it to this day is still the best AEW match that Mercedes has had. But if that is what she did, so what? She's an independent contractor. She doesn't need to do what you guys want her to do. She's allowed to go out there and put herself in any position to be successful. And it worked for her. She made it very clear she wanted to work for WWE. She didn't want to work for AEW. She didn't want to work for NJPW. She didn't want to work for CMLL anymore. She wanted to go to WWE. That was her choice. That's exactly what she wanted to do. I support Stephanie Vacour because I feel like what Stephanie Vacour did was the right thing. God bless that woman for going and doing what she wants to do. We all want to accomplish a dream, and that was a dream for her. She wanted to get to the big machine, and she got there, guys. Let's just be proud for her. You can be pissed off. I'm pissed off when there's a trade available for the Yankees to get, and they don't get them. I'm pissed off when the Niners are really bad, and I think that they can get a good wide receiver to bring in, and they don't get him. I'm pissed off too. So I get why AEW fans are super angry that Stephanie Vacour is being propositioned to be this like next great star in WWE. But guys, she hasn't got there yet. She's got a big language barrier problem. You can see it now. Now she can work absolutely, and I think that when you're in the ring and you work as fluidly as she does, it doesn't matter what language you speak because she is just utter perfection in that ring. And I saw it in her debut match. She looked like she had been working in that specific company for 10 plus years. Awesome for her. Good for her. Guys, is WWE ruining the American Nightmare? Let's be clear here. Cody Rhodes is one of the most popular superstars in all of professional wrestling, and we can all agree to that. He's positioned as the guy. He's not the guy because we know that that's Roman Reigns. But is WWE ruining the American Nightmare character? Are they ruining all of the work that Cody put into that character? You and I both know that we fell in love with American Nightmare Cody Rhodes. We loved what we saw in the Indies and TNA and NJPW. I mean, I'm telling you right now that I fell in love with Cody Rhodes the moment I saw him cut that promo on Steve Corino. I thought this is what has been missing from him the entire time he worked in WWE. That Steve Corino promo, that's the one that did it for me. And then you saw the Kenny Omega promo. And then you saw the promo he cut in TNA with Forgive Me, where he told the women's wrestler, here's $45. It's $20 more than they were going to pay you. My God, I was like, this dude's a menace. And here's the thing. Because WWE is edgier, because they're no longer just a regular PG-13 company, Cody's version of a babyface that he gave us from the indies would work. I see a lot of people saying that would work if Cody was a heel. Guys, that version of Cody Rhodes that we got in AEW, that version of Cody Rhodes that we got in TNA, that we got in New Japan, that version would work right now in the WWE. The fact that you guys don't see it or you're blind to it is shocking to me because the WWE has watered down the American Nightmare. I have seen so many people on social media jump on here to bash Cody, me being one of them, because I don't like the version of Cody that we're getting. And I get it. We don't all get what we want. We absolutely want something in professional wrestling, and when it doesn't go our way, we bitch and moan on the internet. That is the way of a wrestling fan. But when we know, because it has been given to us, because we have evidence that one specific thing works for a guy, and they completely strip that away, and they give us this Walmart version of a Cody Rhodes, it's just not, it's not feasible, guys. You're not going to keep him on top by working with him that way. You need to give him the experience to go out there to branch out. Like right now, I think he is in major jeopardy of losing a big fan base because Kevin Owens has been there for a while. KO is saying whatever he wants, whenever he wants. He's given the freedom to do so. And everything Kevin Owens is saying right now, well, it makes him the babyface. They're doing a better job with this Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes feud than they did with Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. Because KO, we can see everything that he went through. At least with Rhea, people can make the argument like Rhea asked Liv to back off a couple times until she didn't. And listen, I grew up in a Latino household. If my abuela told me to stop doing something, even if I was right or wrong, and I kept interrupting her, mira, Una bofeta que me va a dar. That's it. She's going to smack me. That's exactly what would happen. Rhea Ripley, she told her. But we're not watching that with Cody. Kevin Owens has had everybody betray him. And is Cody going to be able to keep up on the mic? Now, we know he can. We've seen him do it because Kenny Omega is a phenomenal talker, and we've seen Cody shred his ass. But are WWE going to let Cody Rhodes do that? I don't think so. I just don't think they're going to let him do it because they want him to be that white meat babyface. They want that Bruno Sammartino, that 80s Hulk Hogan, that PG John Cena. They don't want him to be edgy. And I don't understand. It's 2024, guys. We don't need the white meat babyface anymore. That shit don't play well no more. We don't need it. We need a white meat babyface like we need bra and panty matches. We just don't fucking need it. It's ridiculous. Let Cody Rhodes be the American nightmare that caused you to bring him in and offer him that fat ass contract. The American nightmare, the guy that brought in all of this traction, that brought all of the fans with him from AEW, the people that stopped watching AEW when Cody came back. Let him be that American nightmare because the version we have now, holy shit, that's the Payless Shoes version of the American Nightmare. It's awful. It's one of the worst characters in all of professional wrestling today. And we have seen Mercedes Moné and Ricochet talk on the mic. This is bad right now. And we need good Cody because he's being outgained in the audience's eyes by people like Solo, by Jacob. Roman is clearly still higher up on the card than him. Drew McIntyre hasn't cut a bad promo since before that interaction with Kevin Owens on Monday Night Raw. CM Punk is literally never bad on the mic. The Rock is on his way back. If Cody doesn't start acting like the Cody that he was when he sent out that fucking tweet of the workers that he wanted to work, it's just not going to work. He's going to wind up getting booed worse than Cena, worse than Roman was during the Big Dog era. They need to let the man go. Just absolutely let him fucking cook because he can. He knows exactly what to do. So just let him do it because this version, it is just awful to say the least. Guys, did you watch the press conference for the last AEW pay-per-view? Did you see Mariah May ask if anybody had any questions for her? And not a single soul had a fucking question for her? You're telling me that no one thought of the question, hey, Mariah, I noticed you're still using the Storm Zero. Is Tony Storm still very much in your mind? Hey, Mariah, you've all of a sudden become this ruthless wrestler who has just taken no prisoners. What sparked the new mindset? Those are two questions I just thought of right now. I didn't write them down in my notes. I have my notes on what to do for the show. Those are two questions I just thought of right now. None of those fucking people that get paid for a living could have asked her a question. The most disrespectful media outlet I've seen in a very long time. Very long time. I would say not asking Mariah May a question during that after another successful title run, after the fact that her and Tony Storm stole our hearts with that fucking feud for the past year. The fact that they didn't do that, I think it's worse than asking Mercedes about her divorce at a wrestling show. At least that's a fucking question. That's embarrassing for AEW. It's embarrassing for Tony Khan. It's embarrassing for women's wrestling. And it just shows the lack of awareness by those people, not knowing that that was going to be a fucking viral moment. Just brutal, brutal. Mariah, if you want someone to ask you tons of questions, come here on Must Love Wrestling. Me and Tyler, we'll sit down, we'll talk to you. You can tell us whatever you want. We'll talk to you about your entire career. We'll talk to you about what it means to you that Bryan Danielson stuck his neck out and said, this person's got it, and helped usher you into AEW. I just don't understand how you can get paid to ask questions, to write stories, and you couldn't come up with a single question for that woman. It's awful. Guys, let's touch on a fun subject. There has been a lot of traction that has followed this tweet that Jey Uso is the 2024 version of Jeff Hardy. And guys, I don't know if I agree with that, because for you to not grow up in the Jeff Hardy era, for you not to understand what Jeff Hardy meant to professional wrestling, that was wild. You had to be there. Jeff Hardy was otherworldly. He was a really good in-ring talent who did high-risk maneuvers before high-risk maneuvers were like your every Wednesday and Saturday night in Jacksonville. And he did them at poignant moments of the match. He didn't just do them on Monday Night Raw. Jeff Hardy worked an entire ladder match with The Undertaker, and it is regarded as one of the greatest ladder matches of all fucking time. And he barely used any of his pay-per-view stuff. When we talk about Jeff Hardy, there needs to be some respect on his name. This man didn't jump through tables and do all that stuff. He saved that for special moments. Jeff Hardy is one of my all-time favorite wrestlers, and I love Jey Uso. I think Jey Uso might be one of my favorite workers in the business right now. I think what he's providing to professional wrestling is just amazing. But to compare Jey Uso to Jeff Hardy, well, I think it's more of a compliment to Jey, and it feels more like a disrespect to Jeff, because it feels like we're appreciating what Jey is doing in the business today, but we're also discounting what Jeff Hardy meant and did to the business back in his era. I don't even understand, because do you remember that moment in AEW when CM Punk finally made his long-awaited return, and you saw that dude in the audience crying, that grown man crying that CM Punk was back, and we all felt that way. We were all like, damn, man, we finally got it. We won. Punk is back. Do you remember that moment? That was a one-time moment for a return for a superstar that we all love. Imagine going through that weekly. That's what it was like watching Jeff Hardy. That man provided a joy in professional wrestling that is just not here today. The way he was able to unite fans from all around the world. Everyone loved Jeff. The Hardy Boys were just different, man. And don't get me wrong, I love the Usos. They're fucking great. I got nothing negative to say about them, except for the fact that they shouldn't have main evented WrestleMania 39. That should have been Rhea and Charlotte. But what the Hardy Boys meant to the business was just, it was so impactful, because they didn't look like your everyday wrestler. They looked more like us. Like if you were in a aisle in a grocery store and you saw a guy that was just slightly taller than you, but he was really thin, like imagine that's Jeff Hardy. I've stood 5 feet away from Jeff Hardy at a Ring of Honor show. The moment he debuted the Will-O-Wisp and he came out, I couldn't even believe what I was looking at. I was like, this guy looks like an everyday man. He's just, pretty. And he was so genuine, so amazing. Now, I've heard some great stories about Jey Uso and Jimmy. I've heard that they are great people to meet. Same thing with Roman. I hope one day to be able to meet all three of those men. But we do need to realize that Jeff Hardy meant so much to professional wrestling. He was such a big deal. And there are wrestlers from his era that would never reach his level of popularity. Think about the guys that were single stars during the Jeff Hardy era. Triple H, Edge, Matt, Christian, John Cena, Batista, Randy Orton, all of these guys, CM Punk, all of these guys were single stars during the Jeff Hardy singles run. He was the most popular superstar. Did you not hear the names I just mentioned? That is wild, is it not? There were men, women, children wearing those sleeves that Jeff Hardy wore all the time. People were yelling at house shows, just like Team Extreme. People were going crazy. Jeff Hardy he was a religion. That's all I could say. He was a religion, and not like a cult or nothing, not like a crazy thing where people like, the way they act over like AEW and shit like that, or the way they act over, Trump. But like we're talking like it was like people really wanted to be a part of it. You were rarely a hater. It was rare that you met someone that hated Jeff, and if they disliked Jeff, it was always the same reasons. It was, I'm a bigger Edge fan, or I just prefer Matt Hardy. Those are the reasons. That's it. It was that simple. Which brings me to my other question, guys. When did it become toxic to have a conversation over who the guy is in professional wrestling? When did that become something where if you don't like someone because they're popular over here, that means that you're a toxic wrestling fan? Guys, the word toxic gets thrown around more than the word woke. It's ruining wrestling conversations. I remember going to Pathmark in Union City, New Jersey, sitting on the floor in the grocery store because I couldn't afford to buy the magazines. And I would sit there reading wrestling magazines, just talking with my boy Pat, my boy Bernie, and we would just be talking over who was better. Do you remember that wrestling magazine? I believe it was a PWI, where it was Sting on the cover and Shawn Michaels on the cover, and it had their attributes. And it was like, who's better in the business? Those are normal conversations, and nobody ever got angry at those conversations. It was like saying, like, who did you like better, Goldberg or Austin? It was a regular conversation. I remember growing up and being in backyard wrestling. That's right, I was a moron too. And I kind of still am at times. I remember this guy, Vinny Fucci. If you ever listen to this podcast, I shouted you out, bro. I remember he was a big Triple H fan. I never understood. I was like, Triple H is your guy? Yeah, that was his dude. That was his favorite guy. It was like, okay, wild. Good for you. Like, I just never really got it. I was like, wow, Triple H has never been my guy. I've never even put him in that category. I appreciate him. He's definitely worth the spot. He's worth having a wrestling fan that views him as the best in the biz, but he's not my guy. Like, it used to be a typical conversation. Right now, I'm realizing that the worst two conversations you could have with a wrestling fan where you're going to get attacked and someone's just going to give you an immature ass answer is when you're trying to discuss who's more important to the business or who's the guy, Roman Reigns or Cody Rhodes. Guys, it's never going to be Cody. Never. It's Roman Reigns. Do you need an explanation? I'll give it to you right now. In the 80s, it was Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes. Dusty was more popular with the fans, but who did the companies view as the money? Who did the companies view as the guy? The man, Ric Flair. All right? Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage. Who did people view as the guy? Hogan. John Cena, Randy Orton, cover of a video game together. Randy won more of their matches. Randy was moving up the card. He had better storylines, better promos, all of that. John Cena was the guy. Bret Hart, 400K champ. Google it if you need to know what it is. Actually, the guy who came up with the terminology, I believe today is his birthday. Happy birthday, Scott Hall, Razor Ramon. But him and Shawn Michaels coming up at the same time. Who was the guy? It was Shawn Michaels. Guys, there's only been one time in professional wrestling history, in pro wrestling history, where fans and the people that were running the show could not tell who was the guy. And that was the Austin Rock era. And I think a lot of it had to do with them overlapping each other. That's all it was. But it was the only time. You could be a fan of both. I'm pretty sure Adam Cole has stated his favorite all-time wrestling match is WrestleMania 17, Austin versus Rock. You could be a fan of both, but that was the only time in professional wrestling history where we had two people that were at the top and you couldn't differentiate who was the actual guy. It was us. Like, I was rooting for The Rock. Pat was rooting for Austin. That's how it was. Right now, it's clear. The Ulafana means more to professional wrestling than the WWE Championship. It's being presented that way. It's being shown that way. That Ulafana is so important. Why would it be that way if not for Roman Reigns? He is the guy. He has been here. He's worked his ass off. He didn't have to leave. And you have to understand that that is part of the reason why Cody's never going to be the guy, because he left. Triple H is a lifer. He's been here. From the moment he became Hunter Hearst Helmsley, he never left. He put up with having the King of the Ring stripped away from him. He put up with winning the title and losing it 21 days later because Vince didn't know if he would be the guy. And losing it to Vince. Triple H knows what it's like to be presented as the top heel in the business and then to have everything taken away from you. Cody's never been through that. I've stated this before and I'll state it again. Cody's pre-AEW career was great in WWE. The guy worked WrestleMania matches against the Big Show and Rey Mysterio. Say what you will about either wrestler. Working WrestleMania is a great thing. He was given the opportunity to work the top superhero in television in Stephen Amell at the second biggest show of the year. It's SummerSlam. He absolutely was put in such a great spot. He grew a mustache. He became dashing. Then he was grotesque with the mask. Cody was given opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. And he couldn't get himself over. That promo that Roman Reigns cut on him where he said, we gave you this, you couldn't get yourself over. So then you went over here. And you couldn't get yourself over in a company you started. That promo, as much as it hurts a lot of wrestling fans' feelings, it's the truth. Roman Reigns stayed here. He was given the opportunity, and he main evented, 3 straight WrestleManias? 4 straight or whatever? Fans hated him for it, all because of a podcast that CM Punk did. Well, we got a question in the chat. Let's see here. Damar, do you think Dolph Ziggler could be great again if he returned? 100%. 100%. I think Dolph Ziggler has proven, or Nick Nemeth has proven, that he can work anywhere. It's very rare that someone can do what he's doing. And I commend him for staying away from AEW, for noticing, hey, they have too much over there. Sometimes too much talent is too much. And he has absolutely done the right thing by going to TNA, and he's thriving. He's absolutely thriving. He looks great over there. Everybody he works with, he makes them look like $1 million. He's definitely, him and Joe Hendry and Moose, those are the 3 people that I think of the most when I think of TNA. Dolph Ziggler hasn't even been there that long, and he's already put himself in a position to be that person. But the guy in TNA, let's not ignore it. Let's be honest, it's Jordynne Grace. She's the guy. Whether people want to admit it or not, that's the second time that TNA's done that, where they've presented a female star as the guy. And God bless them. The first time was Tessa Blanchard, before all of her fucking nonsense came out, before all of her stupidity that she just spewed to the world. She was presented that way. 100%. I agree with this, Damar. WWE did fumble Ricochet. And you know when I thought they fumbled him? Because they have been spending so much time looking for the next Rey Mysterio Jr., and they had it right there. And I don't know how far back you go, but there was a great time where Ricochet, where he wrestled for this television company by Robert Rodriguez. You know, the guy who made the Desperado movies, the guy who made From Dusk Till Dawn? He had his own wrestling promotion, Lucha Underground. And Ricochet was Prince Puma. Prince Puma was phenomenal. He was a different version of Ricochet. It was almost like, imagine Finn Balor with the Demon. That's what Prince Puma was. And I think he was in it. He could have been their big, Rey Mysterio that they've been looking for. Because I'll tell you what, I've been to at least 5 to 7 shows over the past 2 years in WWE. Every single time Dragon Lee's out there, 0 reaction. I don't know what it is about him. His presentation is great. The whole thing on the Titantron with the dragon and turning into him and stuff. It looks awesome live, but nobody cares. We're tired of seeing it. Ricochet has no charisma. Yeah, I think we're watching that right now in AEW. They don't do a really good job of protecting their talent. We watched it first and foremost with Mercedes. Mercedes has always been that reaction promo. And for those of you that don't know what a reaction promo is, that means that there's already an established star in the ring cutting a promo on a worker. And then a worker comes out, their music hits, they come out, and they react to whatever you said. That's what Mercedes Moné did great in WWE. That's what she did as Sasha Banks. She's never been the person that you can trust to give her a live mic, put her in the center of the ring, and she's going to sell a story. AEW has tried very hard to do that, and it's actually hurt her character, and it's hurt Camille more because now Camille was supposed to be presented as their version of a Rhea Ripley, and she might be that good, but we'll never know because nobody gives a shit. It's awful. Let's see here. I feel like Undisputed Era would have been cool if the main roster run Cole. Absolutely. Yes. Adam Cole was presented the best in WWE. And I think a lot of what happened was the Vince McMahon issue. The fact that Vince didn't view him as a top star. He viewed him as a manager. But if you remember going back to when Adam Cole first debuted, Shawn Michaels had made a lot of eyes open with his comments about Adam Cole, that if he was 6'2", he would be the best wrestler in the world. He would be the top star in the business. It's just the fact that he's 5'10". And I think that he just looks very thin. And there's a lot of memes about him and stuff. And, he's been injured a lot in AEW. It's unfortunate. But I agree with you. Adam Cole in the Undisputed Era on the main roster would have just been money. Just money. Jimmy Changa. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks, man. Definitely. Yeah. Guys, have you paid attention to the Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley story? Because I have a question for everybody. Do you feel the same way that I do, that Liv Morgan is in danger of moving all the way back down the card? Do we realize that Rhea Ripley's going to be in this position for a while? And now there's a lot of rumors that Charlotte's on her way back. There's a lot of speculation when Becky's coming back. Tiffany Stratton has made a lot of headway. Naya's doing the best work of her career. Bayley is one of the best talents. We have Bianca. We have Jade. Now it looks like there's this ushering trade in to push Candice LeRae. And a lot of workers in the business really love Candice. If you're a big fan of the indies, you know that Candice is an awesome worker. If Liv loses this title, can she stay prominent on our televisions? I don't think so, guys. I really don't. Let's see here. Adam Cole showed up for Raw and got zero reaction. Yes, that is true, but he got a huge reaction when he showed up on SmackDown and he beat Daniel Bryan. If you remember that match correctly, the way it was positioned, it was done so well because it made it look like Bryan was going to work Triple H. And then Shawn Michaels stepped in. And then we were like, oh my God, are we getting student versus teacher, Shawn versus Bryan? And then Shawn does his whole comedy shtick. Triple H says, champ. He walks into frame. And then Bryan could work a fucking broomstick and make it look like he was wrestling Okada. Just amazing. So yeah, you're right. He got zero reaction on Raw. But when he worked that match with Bryan on SmackDown, he was phenomenal. He was phenomenal. So yeah, do you think that Adam Cole and MJF have done the right thing? Has AEW, have they challenged our intelligence? Are we supposed to forget that Adam Cole was the villain in this story? Are we supposed to forget that Adam Cole was the devil? That he cost MJF the world title? Because it looks like AEW isn't doing a great job with Adam Cole either. Is he just a victim of circumstance that he's forever going to be doomed to be fumbled by whatever company he works for? Because it's super odd. Ooh, this right here. Dominic reminds me of Owen with his charisma, his cowardly heel in a way. Listen, I have said this before and I will say it again. I do love Dominic. So I'll get back to Dom in a minute. But I feel like Owen, Bryan Danielson, and Eddie Guerrero are three wrestlers that they can only be compared to each other. They're the only people that you can give them an absolute crap program and they will turn it into money. They will turn it into gold. Eddie turned every comedy act that he was given in WWE into absolute money. Bryan Danielson, that dude went from being a footnote in a Bellas versus Gail Kim storyline to losing his title in 18 seconds to selling more t-shirts than John Cena in 24 hours. Bryan Danielson, whatever he was given, Team Hell No, or just the Planet Champion, it didn't matter. He was selling so much money. They made him a biodegradable t-shirt. They made him a t-shirt that was completely recyclable. Everything, it was made from recyclable material. It sold out. You don't do that if you're not one of the top stars. And Owen Hart, I mean, when we talk about Owen, we got to talk about the best Hart, because I think that's the one argument that Bret Hart can't make. Owen was better than him. And I'm a massive Bret fan. He's on my Mount Rushmore forever. But Owen was a better in-ring performer. He just had it. He was perfect. He was an absolute perfect talent. And I got to be honest, you know what WWE did really well with Dominic Mysterio that I think a lot of people let go unnoticed? They stopped letting him work lucha. He's not a luchador. He's too big. If you notice his style, he reminds me very much of 1998 to 2005 Edge. That's who he works like. He works like Adam Copeland, and it works for him. Yeah, he still does the triple, like the Three Amigos and stuff, and now so does Liv because that's her boyfriend. But he works very much like Edge or Christian. He works like those tall, lanky guys, and he stopped working like his dad. When he first came in and he was this baby face that nobody gave a shit about, it was like, but you're just trying to be a luchador, but you're too tall. Like, it just doesn't work. Not everybody could be Billy Kidman. Like, Billy Kidman was unique as a luchador. You know, he was taller than everybody else, and you know, his shooting star was so awkward. But taking Dom away from lucha and just having him work a natural heel program, having him just forever be that guy that's just going to betray whoever he's with. I mean, we're all waiting for it. We're all waiting for him to betray Liv Morgan. We know that's going to happen. He may betray her to be with Raquel. He might help revitalize Raquel's career. Let's see here. What do you got here? An Edge jumped off the cage. Oh, my God. Yeah, listen, I am an OG Hogan hater. I'll be honest with you. I have disliked Hulk Hogan since the moment I watched that man take 4 or 5 elbow drops from Macho Man Randy Savage and then Hulk up, hit a leg drop 35 seconds later and beat Macho Man. That was the moment I was like, I'm out. And I was a little boy when that happened. I was like, I'm out. But the one thing I can say about Hogan is that he knows the business. And the moment he started dissecting as to why Adam Copeland or Edge did that spot and why he didn't need to do that spot, I agreed with the man 100%. He was already over. He was already the biggest star in AEW the moment he came in. And there was no need for that spot. No need whatsoever. The dude's in his 50s. What the fuck's the point of jumping off a cage like that? It just didn't make any sense. Jimmy, I definitely agree with you. That was a rough spot for Adam Copeland. And I hope when he comes back that he has a better, end of his career, because honestly, whatever he has going on right now, I mean, I know he may be in the next season of Percy Jackson. I'm pretty sure that story arc is still going, but I definitely don't see this ending in AEW. I hope he comes back. I mean, we're definitely getting a great version, because everything we got in this second run that he gave us in WWE was great. He main evented WrestleMania once again. And think about that main event. People don't even talk about the symbolism of that main event. You had a neck injury, out of the business for 11 years. You had concussions that stopped Bryan's career. So we have the neck injury was Edge. We have the concussions that stopped Bryan's career that could have taken his life away. And then we had leukemia with Roman Reigns. All three of those guys had a moment in time in their career where it had been taken away from them, and they made it all the way back to main event WrestleMania together. I mean, just amazing. Just amazing. Who's gonna be better? Ooh. Listen, as a Latino, I want to say Dom, but I think Braun Breaker's the future. Every single week, Braun Breaker's better than the last. Every single thing they have done with him is completely careful. They are attentive. They make sure they don't let him mess up. He goes out there. He's already one of the best workers in the biz. He's so safe. I don't know if you guys notice, he works people and he protects people when he's in the ring. Now, that's something that all professional wrestlers do. But for him to be in the business for less than 3 years and to be this good, I mean, it's one of those things that we just really have to pay attention to. He is really, really crisp. You could tell he was born for this business. Very much a Steiner. I fully expect him and Carmelo to be main eventing WrestleMania in the future. I think Carmelo's another one of those guys where it's just like, man, I watch him, and as much as I love Andrade, I'm a bigger fan of his wife, obviously, but as much as I love Andrade, this is done specifically to help people get more adjusted to what Melo is going to bring to professional wrestling. I mean, that kid is just spectacular. Yeah. I mean, I think we're getting a wrinkle into what I thought was going to happen. I thought it was going to be Dom that was going to take the championship from Jey Uso. I really thought that everything he was talking about when he was doing all his interviews, that it was going to be Dominic Mysterio that was going to take the championship from Jey Uso. But after Jey interrupted Solo this week, I would not be surprised if one of these two things happen. Either the bloodline helps Jey as a way to sway to get him to join the Guerrillas of Destiny and Jacob and Solo, or they cost him the Intercontinental Championship and Braun wins it back. Either way, I think we're in for a great story. And I do think I made this prediction earlier. I have full belief that Dom or Sami Zayn are winning the briefcase next. One of those two guys is going to win the briefcase. And whoever wins it is not failing to cash it. Sami Zayn has put himself out there. He's a world champion in waiting. And obviously, Dom, that would be heat. Absolute heat. Just be crazy, crazy heat. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining the show here. I'm flying solo today. Tyler is in Florida, but he's getting ready for his big move back to Canada. So, Macho decided to come on here and just talk about some professional wrestling with you, do a little wrestling talk. Didn't want to go a week without a show. Appreciate you so much. Thank you, Damar, for joining the show. Thank you, Chimichanga. I really appreciate both of you guys throwing me a bunch of questions. I love it. If you guys enjoy my content, please follow me over on TikTok at Macho_Rodriguez. Or you can follow me on X at LewisR826. And I love all the interaction. So please like, subscribe, share our page. The best way to get our show out there is through word of mouth. I love talking professional wrestling. It is one of my absolute passions in the world. I would love to leave the butcher shop and do this full time for a living. So again, guys, thank you so much for all your interaction. And until next time, I'm out.